hit on when you're working with people with disabilities. Um, again, whether you're here as a volunteer, whether you're here as a vendor or a partner, we just want to thank you for participating this year because we are so excited for what is going to happen at Civic Center Park on next Saturday on the 27th. So just a little bit of background on the Shine Music Festival. Shine Music is a 501c3 nonprofit with a mission to create universally designed, all-inclusive live music events. Our event is unique because the Shine Music Festival combines staples of a typical music event, comprehensive accessibility plans, and cutting-edge adaptive technology to create a barrier-free space that allows people of all abilities the opportunity to share in the joy and love of music together. Our event is also, to add to that accessibility, it is always a free to ensure that everybody can attend. This will be our second year, but this will be our first year at the Civic Center Park, and we are so excited. It's going to be bigger, it's going to be better, and we just have so much to go over with you. So Sean, if you could click to the next slide. Just some basics on both vocabulary and the idea of Shine. A disability, so what it makes up a disability. A disability is considered any condition of the body or mind that makes it more difficult for people with conditions to do certain activities and interact with the world around them. Now, as you can see, I have put this little graphic on here to show you different ideas of how people are sometimes treated within the disability community and other communities as well. There's exclusion where one group is on the inside and another group is on the outside. There is separation where one group is, well, obviously they're separated from each other. Integration's a little bit better, but it's still kind of segregated. And inclusion is the best of all because it's everybody working together. That's what universal design essentially is. And that's what makes Shine Music Festival so unique, because as a universally designed concert, it promotes access and usability for everyone, regardless of disability or other factors, meaning that we're all included. We are all part of it together, and no one is feeling left outside that circle or in their own little circle. Some things that specifically make the Shine Music Festival universally designed. We do not have ADA sections, and that's part of the inclusiveness of it all. And rather, we work to make it sure that the entire space is accessible for for anybody and all for the abilities out there. We also will have a Zen zone, which will provide a calmer space for any individual who needs to enjoy that day, but wants to maybe take a break. And especially there will be different organizations there specializing in neurodiverse needs. All event information, including maps, menus, and retail menus are available in large print and Braille. We have partnered this year with the Clean Robotics Trash Bot, which will make recycling accessible for all. And we are using adaptive technology that translates the music from the soundboard into vibrational energy, making the music accessible to our deaf and hard of hearing guests. Additionally, there are ASL interpreters, not just on both of our stages, but they will be available for individuals that need assistance communicating. And there will be more on that later. So this is a map. It may change over the next course of the week, but to give you an idea of the layout, we have 2 stages, one at the Greek Theater, one that is off of Bannock, and we have 4 different entrances. I think it's 4 entrances, 3 entrances. We will have food trucks. Each food truck will have a table out and tent to make it accessible to everybody. We have disability or accessible porta potties and porta potties, and it will just be a great layout in general as far as logistics for a well-rounded concert go. Now, I also want to, I forgot to say at the beginning that if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Um, I got so excited. Wow, I just went with it. Please put them into the chat, and Sean will let us know, and we can do question and answers at the end of the show. I forgot to introduce myself. I am sorry. My name is Alexis Perlmutter. I am on the board of the Shine Music Festival, and I am the volunteer director. I have been working with the disability community since in various positions, both government and nonprofit, since 2010. And I myself have a disability of my own. So with that, let's go on to our next slide. It's just disability etiquette and communication. People with disabilities are people, just like the rest of us. A disability does not define who a person is. And so we wanted to provide you, some of you may be aware of these, some of you may not, but here are some tips for interacting effectively with people with disabilities. Sean. Thank you. So for some general tips, the disability community is a wide variety of people, a lot of people, and everybody kind of has their own way on how they prefer to be recognized. So to avoid subconsciously dehumanizing people, we try to use person first language. What is person first language? It's saying that a person with a disability rather than a disabled person. So an example of that would be, I mentioned that I have a disability myself. I am a person with epilepsy. Or a person in a wheelchair is a person in a wheelchair, not wheelchair bound. We also want to make sure that we avoid outdated words, such as handicapped, crippled, and mentally retarded. Now, I do want to put out there, like I said, we are a large community and everybody has the own way that they like to refer to themselves. So by starting out with person first language, a person can tell you how they feel about it, some people prefer disabled, some prefer differently abled, some prefer special needs. So it's just safe to start with the one person first idea and let the attendee or whoever you're helping kind of guide you on how they like to refer to themselves. That being said, I hope you don't go up to a person saying, "Hey, I see you're blind," because that would be rude. Now, be conscious that not all disabilities are visible. Just because you cannot see someone's disability doesn't mean it's not real. I have a hidden disability. You will not see it until I have epilepsy. You will not see it until I have a seizure. And there are many other circumstances like that. Now, don't assume that just because a person has a disability that they are in need of assistance. If a person appears to need assistance, make sure you ask them first. I think this one is really important to remember. Canes and wheelchairs are part of a person's personal space, so do not touch them without permission. Speak directly to the person with the disability. Try to look them in the eye. They are people. If you are speaking to somebody who is using an interpreter or a companion, address them directly, not the interpreter. Address the person you are talking to, not their interpreter. They are there to help them. They are as an accommodation. And finally, always remember, service dogs are working animals. They're not meant to be petted. They are there to help their owner. So do not, I wouldn't even ask to pet a service animal because they are working and they are doing their task. There, as I've mentioned many times, very many different types of disabilities. Some are visible, but many are hidden. And so with that in mind, I think it's just as a volunteer, as a vendor, somebody who is partnering with Shine, we want to treat everybody with respect. I put in here a couple of slides specific to different communities that will be represented at this event, such as the deaf community. To get the attention of a person with a hearing loss, tap them on the shoulder or wave your hand. And again, as I mentioned, interpreters are not only for deaf individuals, they assist both the deaf and the hearing. They provide access between the two people, but while you're communicating with that person, talk to the person and not the interpreter. For people with mobility disabilities, a person's equipment, such as their wheelchair, scooter, or cane, is part of their personal space. Do not touch it or move it without their permission. And if you're talking to a person in a wheelchair, it's suggested for more than a few minutes to try to get to the squat down to their eye level, if it's possible, so that you are communicating directly. For blind and low visibility, introduce yourself before making any physical contact to a person who is blind. And for individuals who are blind, avoid pointing and using nondescript directions like over there. Instead, you want to use maybe more useful terms such as 2 feet to your left. If you are asked for guidance, offer your arm so the person can grasp your elbow and just proceed at a normal pace. And then if you are helping them to a chair, place their hand on the back of the chair instead of helping them sit. And finally, for neurodiverse, just a couple things. Keep in mind that sudden changes in routine can be dysregulating. And so you want to try to be as consistent as possible and communicate the changes. We will have the sensory bus there, and like I mentioned earlier, the Zen zone. If a person needs to just remove themselves, you can direct them towards those areas. Part of that is understanding that large groups and high noise levels or harsh lighting can sometimes overstimulate people, and so they might enjoy taking a break in the sensory bus. We also want to allow for longer processing time when conveying information or asking questions. So most importantly, as a volunteer, whether it is for Shine Music Festival or, I don't know, any festival, we want to listen. If you would like to offer assistance to a person with a disability, ask them first. If it is accepted, listen and follow their instructions. They will let you know how to help them. If it is declined, please respect their decision and do not proceed to assist. I went through this really fast. So finally, some information that is really important for next week. We will be using text messaging technology for everybody at the event, including vendors, partners, all attendees, so that if there's an emergency or we need to get in touch with you, it will go out by text. So if you could please text 833-548-3601. And if you're a volunteer, text the word volunteer. And if you're a vendor, text the word vendor to that number. And that just gives us an extra amount of time or an extra way to get in touch with you if there's a message that needs to go out. And finally, are there questions? Sean, did I leave anything out? Would you like to add anything?
No. We do have a question here that says, with the potential for extreme heat or storms, how can we best assist our attendees if they appear in distress or if there is an evacuation?
That is a very good question, Sean.
Okay. I didn't know if you wanted me to do it. Basically, Any of the extreme, any weather that issues that come up, we will utilize not only the reason we're utilizing the text messaging system is that if we do PSAs from the stage, which we will, individuals who are deaf or hard of hearing may not get that information, and therefore the text is the best way for us to communicate. We will have signs all over the place and be able to communicate that. Here, let me go back. I'll put that number back up, everyone. There you go. And that by those keywords, that is what puts you into a queue. So we have already filled in a warning. So let's say there's a thunderstorm or lightning happened. We already have it pre-programmed in, and it'll send out to everyone. It's a two-way communication. So if you need help or you need any assistance, all you need to do is text that back. As soon as you text that number, you're going to get a welcome notification, and then just don't delete that text. That'll be the easiest way for you to remember, or save it in your phone, and then text us that way. And we are going to, again, like I said, we'll have the PSAs on there. The good news, if anybody was at the event last year, the one thing that we were missing the most of was shade. And if you are unfamiliar with Civic Center Park, not only is there a ton of awesome, beautifully big, shady trees, but Pasco will have a large tent area that will have cooling misters and everything. So there's a lot of different things that we have taken into consideration and learned from, and we're in a much more aligned space. And I think we're not going to really have any of those problems, and we're counting on that. I also want to. The other thing that, although there will be signs there, but I'm going to send out an email to everyone. Shine Music has been being filmed by award-winning director Nigel Dick. He's directed over 380 Grammy-winning music videos and won 2 Lifetime Achievement Awards. And there are these film waivers. Nigel and we have a huge team. We have Snoop Dogg, sound engineer, flying in to make sure the sound quality is movie quality for the recordings. And if you happen to be interviewed by Nigel or anything like that, there's just waivers that we're asking anyone to sign that just releases that video for us to make the production. And if you have any questions about that or do not want to be in a video, all you need to do is to tell any video camera or photographer person that you wish not to be photographed or videoed. We have a question here about where do we park. We are going to send out a map as well. So we have a day of event plans that really kind of coordinate everything. For those of you who are new to the Shine scene, we run everything by the minute. So if a band says that they are starting at 3 o'clock, they are starting at 3 o'clock. For our guests that happen to be blind or visually impaired, they may not have the cues that others would have to see that one band has went off the stage or another one hasn't. So we run it by the minute. We have Braille schedules printed up this year, and so we're going to adhere to that. So for all of the volunteers, if you're on track for being out, hey, I'm going to be from 2 to 4 or whatever that is, there's going to be in the very center pavilion, which is basically between the Greek Theater and the fountain. There is that's where our info booth will be, and there will be info booths at every station, but our core command station is there, and that's where we're going to ask everyone to check in. For our vendors, we have a vendor coordinator that will be checking you in, and I'm going to be sending out a map, letting everyone know exactly where you pull in at, where you're going, where you're stationed, and we can pull into the park this year. So I will have directions on where you do that. You can go, take your stuff, drop off your tent, whatever it is, and then you can go park. And again, we'll put all the parking information up for you. We'll have that no later than this time next week. And then check-ins for different shifts. Patty was, we're just going to have those check in at the command post info booth, which will be next to the Shine merch in the center pavilion of the park. If you're going to be late, if anytime, if you can't make it, something happened, you're going to be late. Alexis, the text message, I'm saying she's in contact with anyone, but she'll send that back out and you'll have her text, her cell phone number. Please text us as soon as possible so that we know that we're going to need to fill that spot. We would much rather hear from you that you're not going to be able to make it than to simply not show up. So we really appreciate that communication. It helps us keep things flowing.
Sean, when people text that 833 number, will it send them a thing saying that they signed up for Shine notifications?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. For the volunteers that are on here, I will be sending out a follow-up email next week with final details of shifts, when to arrive. I would plan on arriving 30 minutes before your shift so that you can check in, and I will be at that located. You will check in with me at that central info booth.
And then someone did say that they didn't receive a message when they texted. So I will make sure that I had that. I did set up those keywords yesterday, and I have been working off of a generator or in a coffee shop. They did not have power for yesterday and today. So I will make sure that if you didn't receive a message, I will just notify everybody and verify that you're in the system. I'll just send out a mass email to everyone who signed up as volunteer, and everyone who signed up as vendor will all get their separate messages that they're assigned. So no worries if you didn't get that. We are expecting, so this is the tricky one, right? We have, because it's free, that's the other reason the text messaging system is what we're trying to utilize for the RSVPs to kind of gauge that. We are expecting 10,000 people. The park holds 22,000 capacity. So we do have staged plans available if we start seeing those numbers creeping up. But with us winning the Best New Festival in Westward, the CBS promotions, the radio ads, and the billboards, we are really hoping for a great crowd. If you're telling everybody, one of the big things, obviously, for the documentary and the filming is people just getting there at, really filling it in at 1 o'clock and supporting those bands that are starting and kicking us off. So we are asking everyone to be, if you, again, from last year, if you remember, the reason the doors are at 12, and we will, we want everybody in place. We want everything done by 11 o'clock. And you know that means because there are people who are, something happened out of their control and they're delayed, they're late. So if we have that time frame of 11, it also just gives everybody that time to just breathe, because setting up your tents and getting everything ready and your food trucks and all of that going is stressful. So taking that moment to just take a breath and relax and be ready to participate in actually world history, which was validated by the Guinness Book of World Records, that this will be the world's largest universally designed music festival. Unfortunately, we didn't have the $20,000 needed to fulfill that and get awarded that on stage, but that's our goal for next year. We'll just have to beat this year's goal. And so if there's any other questions, please know that you can. I think you all have our emails. I'm going to send out, as soon as we're done with this, I'll go into the text messaging system, and I might have just not, like I said, I was working remotely, so if I might not have set it up to do the autoresponder. So, but you're definitely in there if you text that number. So I will get that into you, and again, we'll send out the information for the day of events. I'm hoping to have that out no later than Tuesday of next week. If you have any questions of that, of course, all of the contact information will be on there, including my cell and Alexis's cell for all of the volunteers. And then I will have our vendor coordinator's number on there as well. And I do want to do a shout out. to the vendors for the food trucks. I know that what we're asking of you to make in making your food trucks accessible, by putting a 10 by 10 tent in front of your window and taking the orders and processing that way, is actually, I know that's stressful, and it's something that not how you normally do things. And what we're hoping is that you will see, it's actually more efficient. So everything that we didn't take away the benefit of one person to benefit another. It actually makes the food trucks run more efficiently, while making it accessible. And when you check in, all of your Braille menus and large print menus will be, with the vendor coordinator. And so if you are a vendor who is selling anything and you have not sent in your menu items or whatever it is, products that you are selling, and you would like that printed, please email those so I can get your Braille menus or Braille information printed up. Even if you provide services, and you don't have a product, you can still send that, and you can print up something that says what you do and how they can contact you. If you think about it, like, why would I need Braille? If there's anything in your booth that would require you to read to someone, then let's put that on Braille and allow them the ability to read on their own, just like anyone else would. Any other questions? This meeting is being recorded, so we'll put a link up there in case anyone wants to review it or you missed a part of the beginning. And we just want to thank you all for stepping up, and that's what Shine is all about. It's creating a collective, and together, this combination of everyone collectively coming into this space and bringing their own ray of light creates a light so bright that we literally can change and impact the world. So thank you so much for being who you are and stepping up, and we really appreciate it. And we're really excited to see you on the 27th.